Hey everyone, and a little look into a case that I find quite interesting. It's the Ellen Greenberg death that initially was ruled a homicide, then a suicide, and now, 16 years later, a case will start next week in civil court to try and force the police to reopen this case. This case is very strange, to say the least. I know we have been in certain cases where it seems like there might be a cover up, but after watching this picture, which is a 3D rendition of the possible stabulations to Ellen's body, I was wondering, how do anyone reach the conclusion that this is self inflicted? I know I'm not an expert in any sort of way, but let's try and work through what has happened so far, and maybe if it's televised when we are done with the Colin Griffith case, we can give this a look because it seems kind of suspicious when I look at it. Because the young lady Ellen, who was a teacher, who lived with her fiance, and on the 26th of January 2011, she had left work early because of a snowstorm. That night, her fiance comes home, finds the door locked, breaks it down because she doesn't open, finds her inside with 20 stabulations to her body, 10 times to the neck and the back of her head. To me, that sounds quite interesting that this is ruled a suicide. There's also bruises up and down her body that could hint at a possible abuse, but the fiance, Sam Goldberg, claims, I broke down the door, hadn't been able to reach her by phone, but he didn't know anything. The medical examiner's office put it as a homicide. Then, all of a sudden, put it back as a suicide within weeks, allegedly under pressure from law enforcement. Again, 10 stabulations to the back of the head and neck. Ruled homicide, then pushed back to a suicide. Her family has kept fighting to have this death re-examined. They have hired independent forensic experts who uncover some key discrepancies, because this is magic stab wounds. According to the forensic experts the family hired, some of these wounds happened post mortem, which will say when she was already dead. So not only did she stabulate herself 10 times in the back, she also chose to do some of them after she did perish. Another one that could be a small thing is one of these stab wounds severed her spinal cord. If you sever your spinal cord, you don't have any motion in your arms or legs. And they kept saying, well, all of these bruises looks kind of like she had been in a relationship with ongoing abuse. The press have also published investigations revealing all of these inconsistencies. Forensic pathologist Cyril Vecht, who worked on the JFK assassination, called it strongly suspicious of homicide. And Henry Lee, who was part of the OJ trial, said the wounds and the bloodstains, they match a homicide scene. It's not suicide. And one of the most compelling evidences came from Wayne Ross, who reported that the self-inflicted stab wounds, especially those penetrating her brain, would have caused severe pain, neurological damage, but apparently a neuropathologist who was involved in the official investigation later claimed that no injuries penetrated the brain, which could be a good thing for the state. The only problem was this neuropathologist years later was contacted and asked, do you stand by that? And saying, I have no memory of ever reviewing this case, and there's no official records, there's no pay stub, there's no reports from her, anything that proves that this person ever looked at this case. Again, highly suspicious that some kind of shenanigans is going on. In 2019, the parents filed a civil suit against the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office and the pathologist Marlon Osborne. And this is an interesting, keep that mind in your head. That the suit demanded that the cause of death be changed to homicide or undetermined, and alleges that Osborne admitted he had altered his findings under pressure from the police. And that name is interesting because yesterday he filed an amendment to his previous findings. On January 27th, I performed an autopsy of Ellen Greenberg, deceased, determining her manner of death to be homicide, and signed a death certificate indicating her manner of death as homicide. I there issued an amended death certificate on April 4th for Ellen, which changed the manner of death from homicide to suicide. This change was made based on additional evaluation of the case file, additional information provided to me by the Philadelphia Police Department, and a neuropathology consult I secured from Lucy Roque Adams, MD. Since issuing the amended death certificate, I have become aware of additional information I did not have at the time of issuing the amended death certificate, which may have impacted my opinion. I am now aware that information exists which draws into question, for example, whether Ellen's fiancé was witnessed entering the apartment before placing the 911 call on January 26th, whether the door was forced open as reported, whether Ellen's body was moved by someone else inside the apartment with her at or near the time of the death, and the findings of Lindsay Emery, MD, from her neuropathological evaluation of Ellen's cervical segment sample. It is my understanding that I am no longer empowered to amend Ellen's death certificate myself because I no longer maintain a Pennsylvania medical license and am no longer employed by the Philadelphia Medical Examiner's Office. But based on my consideration of the new information brought to my attention after leaving my position as ME for the city of Philly, along with my original autopsy findings and information considered while I was actively involved in Ellen's case, it is my professional opinion Ellen's manner of death should be designated as something other than suicide. So, the ME who first ruled it a homicide, then a suicide, now retracts and say it should be something else than a suicide. The case have been allowed to proceed. It starts jury selection Monday. That's gonna be very interesting because the ME have changed his stance on it. And it's also interesting that this neuropathologist can't find any notes that puts her anywhere in connection with this examination. Osborne and other key figures in the case, medical examiner Sam Gullion and homicide detective John McNamee, will be required to testify in court. So again, it could be very interesting, especially what the defense can get out of them. We have followed another case where the police might have covered something up, and on the stand, they actually opened Pandora's box for even more suspicion. We will have to wait and see. The Greenberg family's lawsuit is ongoing, starts next week. Expert testimony will be heard in court, and if they win, it could force law enforcement to reopen the case. And then we might see, what should we say, real justice for Ellen, because if you look at this picture and you determine this is a suicide, because this lady apparently had some anxiety, she had been treated for anxiety, and then she chose to unalive herself in a manner depicted on this picture. 20 stabulations to her body, some of them happening post-mortem. It will be very interesting to see how the state will sell this. I don't know what's up and down in this case. I have watched it a couple of times. I was just reading up on it. Now I saw that the ME have retracted his findings. The case is about to start. The Colin Griffith case is about to end. So I'm thinking, if everything works out and it's televised, it's a civil suit, so I don't know how the rules are in Philly, but it's a case I'm going to keep an eye on. Maybe if it's only reported in papers, I can do videos like this just to try and keep you up to date, because it's very interesting that it have taken 14 years from this lady passed away, even though, again, this is the body, this is what they had to work with, and they reached the conclusion she must have done it to herself. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure that's not very possible, especially when you look at this. You could tell me this is possible, but all of this, to me, screams a red flag, and that's why I think this case could be very interesting if it's published. If not, I'll try and keep you updated via recap videos, but I would love to hear medical examiners explain how this happened. This, to me, seems very highly suspicious. And why didn't the police look into this? I don't know who could have done it. I don't know if anyone had a reason. I haven't found anything other than her fiancé came home. He said he was at the gym. He might have called 911 before or after he opened the door. I don't know. But hopefully we can find out together in this case. It seems very suspicious with what I'm showing you on screen right now. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back with more about this case.